So what happened to the field from my vantage point, okay, is that the field developed what's called the science side developed what's called methodological behaviorism. Okay, so it had to do this thing. Our field had to do this weird thing. It clearly concerned somehow human consciousness, but at the same time is going to be a science. So how the hell do you deal with this first person thing that you can't see in a language system that commits you to a third person thing that can't see it? Okay. So then it was like, all right, it's sort of about psyche, but field then psyche threw itself away. And then we turned it into mind and behavior from various levels. Americans tried behavior, stimulus response, right? Okay. And then radical behaviorism emerged and drive theory and neo-behaviorism emerged. Okay. And then radical behaviorism in America, it's different. But anyway, this is our cultural lines. Skinnerian radical behaviorism takes off. And it's this instrumental epistemological view, meaning that it's like Skinner's just going to say, well, we'll manipulate the environment and just simply measure what it calls. And the task of the scientist is to control the unfolding of behavior, whatever that is, the function of the operant. Okay. And that's 5% of the field in America and nobody in Europe, basically. And then the rest of the field had the cognitive revolution. Okay. So the cognitive revolution was, wait a minute, you have to have these intervening variables. Okay. There's some kind of mental process. All right. And what we can do, though, is we can bring the methods of science. So we'll be a science based on our methods and epistemology. We'll drop a third person view. We'll have independent variables here, dependent variables over here. We'll develop experimental methodologies to show cause relation. And then the scientist will sit in a school of thought or a particular paradigm and apply their particular model of mental process. Okay, that's the basic. And so now what happens, though, is that you have the generation of modeling through that's completely defined by epistemology and method. Okay, so now everyone's, oh, I'm going to check this variable. Hey, does self-disclosure help therapeutic process? So I'm going to now have a measurement of self-disclosure, and then I'm going to see first if it's correlated, and then when does it happen, and now and the self-disclosure seems to be positive related error unless it has these variables. Okay, so now self-disclosure is a variable. We'll try to measure it. We'll see it as an independent. We'll try these other things and connect. And that's how they're doing all of the variables. Okay, but what happens is you then get a library of different methods. Okay. And then the question is, if we zoom back and ask, how do these various methods ingrained findings of these mid-level models interrelate to create a cumulative whole that can then tell me who that real person is in the real? The answer is we don't. It's dead. It's dead in the water. Okay. So my argument is that methodological behaviorism is enormously limited in giving us cumulative knowledge that's up to the task. Okay. I'm a mental behaviorist. Okay. A mental behaviorist, as I'm writing my current book, specifies the ontology. That's what I just went through, the referent, and gives you a metaphysics, which psychologists, oh my God, is actually just means it's the terms that you use and the concepts and categories to specify an ontology, the thing in the world that you're interested in. And the unified theory brings a meta theory, which means it's the big, broad picture that ties the theories together, makes them sing, and then applies it to the ontology. Okay, so a mental behaviorist is like, no, actually, we need an ontological approach to the mental, not an epistemological approach that's scientific. If you can get an ontological approach, now I have a framework that's up to the task, holistic framework that's up to the task, that can specify the real here and now dynamics in the ideographic real. And if I then add my little variable called the psyche, that I will then drop from this unique particular person's perspective, and I have the nomenthetic behavioral frame, I have an ontology that captures the general nomenthetic placed in proper relationship to the ideographic real.